Check out FlipsideGaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES to save 10% on all orders over $10 and support the channel at the same time. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and the Legends, and today we have a number of Dominaria spoilers to look at. And I'm actually going to break these up into 6 videos. This will be part 1. We're going to look at white cards in this one. But we actually saw 142 cards from the set already. So how did that happen? Well, unfortunately, Wizards accidentally, on their Chinese language website, posted an article that would have normally come out right before the set release, talking about some of the rules clarification and such. And that got out. People were translating it, and it was basically everywhere by late afternoon yesterday. Then Wizards came out and just said, okay, here it is in all the languages. We messed up, and yeah, you're getting a big preview early. They are also moving up some of the preview articles to Monday and Tuesday, so we'll report on those as well. A few things you need to know about these videos, though. We're not really actually seeing the complete cards here. We do not have artwork. We do not have rarities. We just have the casting cost, name, rules, text, power, toughness. So keep that in mind. These aren't complete pictures of the cards, and especially when it comes to actually determining how they will play in Limited, that does make a big difference if you don't know the rarity. So all the photos of cards you'll see today are actually mock-ups from Scryfall.com. I don't know if they tried to guess rarities on some of them, but at this point we really don't know rarities, so I want to pay attention to that when you see the card pictures or anything. So with that being said, I don't want to waste a lot more time, so I'm just going to quickly say, hey, if you want to support the channel, you're looking for a way, just check out the description below. But let's get into the cards. This isn't going to be my normal sort of deep dive review like I normally do when we preview a card or when we do a set review. I mean, that will still be coming when we do official previews and the set review for this set. This is more my first impressions because we do have 142 cards to go through, and I would like to have these videos be sort of timely. So here we go. Baird, Steward of Argive. This is going to cost 2 white and 2. It's a legendary creature, human soldier, 2/4 with vigilance. Creatures can attack you or a planeswalker you control unless their controller pays 1 for each of those creatures. One thing I want to point out, Legendary is going to come up time and time again as we go through these cards today. It's basically a major mechanic in this set, kind of like Kamigawa. Not only are there going to be lots of legendary creatures, but we're going to see legendary enchantments, legendary auras, even some legendary sorceries. That's a new thing. We'll get into those in a little bit. So there's a lot of legendary focus here. This is one of the cards as an example of that. And just quickly, I'll say, I mean, it's a pretty cool card for Commander. Pillow Fort players will definitely be interested in this. Also, too, this might be a good time to mention that there's actually going to be a legendary spot in the booster pack, so every pack will guarantee you a legendary card, so that's kind of interesting for limited purposes. Benalish Marshal, 3 white, human knight, 3/3, other creatures you control, get +1/+1. That 3 white might be hard to pull off in, say, standard, like for like white weenie builds or something like that. I don't know if they will get there in standard, if they'll have enough pieces. We'll have to see more of the set. But I will say this could be a lot of fun in limited and in casual play. Also, you notice we have a human knight here. Knight is definitely going to be one of the focuses of white, the knight tribe, as well as black is going to dabble in that a little bit. So some white-black knight decks possibly as a draft archetype we could be seeing. Charge, 1 white, instant. Creatures you control get +1/+1 till end of turn. Basically a limited combat trick for white, especially if you're going wide. I'm sure you'll love to play something like this in your limited builds. Dauntless Bodyguard, 1 white, 2/1, human knight. As this enters the battlefield, choose another creature you control. Sacrifice it, the chosen creature gains indestructible till end of turn. It's kind of an interesting card because it's a 2/1 beater. We've come a long way from Savannah Lions, right? But later in the game, it doesn't mean it's obsolete if there's bigger creatures on the board because you have this ability to protect something that is more meaningful to you. This could maybe even see standard play. I feel like it has some good power level behind it. Dub. Okay, talk about top-down design here. A white and 2, enchantment aura, enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 and first strike and is a knight in addition to its other types. It's an enchantment aura, and I know I'm not always crazy about those, definitely, because of the fear of getting 2-for-1s, and if they don't replace themselves, protect the creature, I get a little nervous about them, especially when they start costing 3 or more. But I can't deny, I love the flavor here. Evra Halcyon Witness, 2 white, 4, legendary creature avatar, 4/4 lifelink. Pay 4, exchange your life total with Evra Halcyon Witness's power. Okay, that's pretty crazy. Now, the toughness is going to stay stable at 4, but could you imagine if you were like 20 life or something like that, attacking in with this, and then on the fly, being able to pay 4 and exchange life totals? I mean, sure, you could get blown out by some instant spell if you're not careful. That is a risk you're taking. But if that does hit, now you're going to gain 20 life, even if it just gets chump blocked. You're going to gain 20 life, and now you're actually at 24, and this thing is at 20, and you could switch to bring it up to 24, and you could be at 20 again. That's insane, right? It's a little expensive. I don't see this kind of shenanigan working in standards necessarily, but super fun for your limited game, I'm sure, and for Commander. Fall of the Thran. Okay, before we get into this card, let me explain Sagas real quick, because this is a new type of card, obviously. So, this is an enchantment, Saga. It enters the battlefield like an enchantment. When it does, you put a counter on it. And when this gets its first counter, you will do whatever Roman numeral 1 says. In this example, destroy all lands. Then, after your draw step, when you're entering your pre-combat main phase, you're going to put another counter on it. It doesn't go on the stack or anything, it just happens. And then when you have the second counter, you're going to do whatever number 2 says, and then the third counter, you'll do what 3 says, and after 3, you'll sacrifice these. And that's how they work in a nutshell. They're actually kind of sweet, ticking up sort of enchantments. And yeah, they take a little time to get there maybe, but it's actually kind of sweet. And sometimes the big payoff is early on. In this case, you get a big effect right when you play it, and this is Destroy All Lands, of course. So let's talk about this card first. A white and 5, Enchantment Saga. And your first thing is Destroy All Lands. Then number 2 and 3, each player returns 2 land cards from their graveyard to the battlefield. So it's kind of like an Armageddon, of course a little more expensive. And then at that point, your opponent does get a little bit of a reprieve over the course of the next couple turns. They're going to start getting some lands back and maybe get back into the game. So it gives you a short window to really take advantage of the fact that your opponent's going to be off their lands. And still can be very powerful. I do think maybe a little situational when it comes to the world of Standard, but if you could get ahead really fast with this, I mean, same idea as the old days when you used to use Armageddon. If you can get ahead with a lot of small creatures and such, and you feel like you're in a position where you can maybe even close out a game or come close to it, then blowing up all the lands, even if it is sort of temporary, because they're going to start getting lands back quicker than they would with an Armageddon, for example, you could perhaps run away with the game. So, interesting card for sure. Healing Grace, little throwback to Healing Salve here. This is a white instant, and it prevents the next 3 damage that would be dealt to any target this turn by a source of your choice. You gain 3 life. Notice it doesn't say like target creature or player anymore, it says any target. That is because they made a change to the Planeswalker rules. So basically what happens is if you're going to target a Planeswalker with say a lightning bolt now, it just targets the Planeswalker. You don't have to do the redirect through the players thing. So they've reworded some of the cards. So any target means you can hit a Planeswalker, a player, or a creature. Or it will specifically say player or Planeswalker if it's not something that can target a creature. History of Benalia. Alright, this one's a 2 white and 1. Enchantment Saga. Number 1 and 2, create a 2/2 white knight creature token with vigilance. Number 3, knights you control. Get +2/+1 till end of turn. So here's where the knights start coming into play. You'll definitely see some elements of knight tribal going on in white, and you also see a little bit in black, at least from what we can tell so far. But yeah, this is a way to start to build out your army a little bit, which is kind of nice. Again, it could be really cool in like a draft archetype for knights. Invoke the Divine. This is a white and 2. Instant, destroy target artifact or enchantment. You gain 4 life. I would imagine this is probably a decent card with all these sagas running around in limited. Knight of Grace. A white and 1. Alright, here's our new version of protection from black, I guess. Human Knight 2/2 first strike, hexproof from black. This creature can be the target of black spells or abilities your opponents control. Knight of Grace gets +1/+0 as long as any player controls a black permanent. So I guess this is a new take on white knights, and we're going to see a black knight variant as well. And I don't know, I like protection from colors myself because it is one of the original mechanics, but I totally get where that can confuse new players. So hexproof from black actually opens up some new avenues too, because I can actually put, say, a black enchantment now on this particular creature. If I was a person that played enchantments, as you know, I don't really like them. But just kidding. Some of them are good. A couple of them. So anyway, this card is actually another one that could be really sweet and maybe a draft archetype, but also maybe in standard, just depending on what happens with the format going forward, especially when we get more knight synergies and we see more of the set. Quende, Pride of Femeref. This is a white and 3 legendary creature, human knight 2/2 with double strike. Creatures you control with first strike have double strike, and as you can imagine, a lot of knights have first strike, so this plays well with knights, and it's a knight itself. Lyra Dawnbringer, 2 white and 3, legendary creature, angel 5/5, flying, first strike, lifelink. Other angels you control get +1/+1 on lifelink. Looks like we're going to have at least a light angel theme here as well, and this card feels powerful. I am assuming this is going to be a mythic. We don't have rarities, like I said, but this feels pretty mythic to me, a 5/5 for 5 with all these abilities attached to it. And the power level could be standard playable, no doubt. And this is going to be a bomb for you, not only in limited, but could you imagine playing Commander Angel builds with this thing? Could be really awesome. On Sarah's Wings, there's our Sarah reference. A white and 3, legendary enchantment aura. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature is legendary, gets +1/+1 as flying, vigilance, and lifelink. Nice little callback to Sarah Angel there, giving flying vigilance. And yeah, again, not always a fan of these auras, especially when they cost 4, but I gotta love the nostalgia here, if nothing else. Seal Away. White and 1 enchantment with flash. When Seal Away enters the battlefield, exile target tapped creature an opponent controls until Seal Away leaves the battlefield. This actually is pretty sweet. 2 casting cost, flash, so you can play it at instant speed. So yeah, I feel like this is good enough to see standard play. This is going to be premium removal for you in white. Tashar, Ancestor's Apostle. A white and 3 legendary creature bird cleric with flying 2/2. Whenever you cast a historic spell, return target creature card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. In case you're wondering, well, what is a historic spell? It is either an artifact, anything legendary, or a saga. So that is a new thing, historic, a new definition that you're finding in this set, and there's going to be some cards, of course, that interact with these artifacts, legendaries, and sagas. So in this case, if you have this in play and then you play one of those things, you get the ability to trigger, and this is a decent ability, being able to take a creature card, convert a mana cost 3 or less from the graveyard directly to the battlefield. Nostalgia-wise, I really like that, because white used to do things like that. Remember Resurrection back in Alpha Beta Unlimited? It actually, in some ways, was more powerful than black when it came to recurring things out of the graveyard, like directly into play. That's kind of cool. And of course, being in white, it makes sense that this can grab small creatures and such and bring them back to the battlefield. Could work well with the knights, maybe. Triumph of Gerard. White and 1 enchantment saga. Number 1 and 2, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control with the greatest power. Number 3, target creature you control with the greatest power gains flying, first strike, and lifelink till end of turn. Awesome that we get a Gerard reference here as well. I'm assuming the sagas feel like they're the lore or the history of Dominaria, which is kind of cool. So I really like the theme here just generally. And yeah, it's a pretty good card for limited, no doubt. So you could have a big turn if this thing can stay on the battlefield. Urza's Ruinous Blast. White and 4. Legendary sorcery. Looks like that the folks at Scryfall are assuming this one's mythic, but I don't think we really know that. You may cast a legendary sorcery only if you control a legendary creature or planeswalker. Exile all non-land permanents that aren't legendary. So that's how these legendary sorceries work, because of course sorceries come and go, right? So legendary wouldn't mean much, but what they did was you have to have a legendary creature or planeswalker in play to actually use the card. So they can tie some powerful effects at a fair casting cost to some of these cards because they're making you jump through at least a little bit of a hoop to get there. In this case, exile all non-land permanents that aren't legendary. That is very good for 5 mana. You don't see that type of thing anymore without the restriction, right? So interesting card here. I mean, could it be powerful enough for standard? I guess it just depends on how hard it is to keep like planeswalkers and legendary creatures on the battlefield, if there's any that are good enough that you want to play just on their own. So I don't know, these type of things feel a little difficult to pull off in constructed competitive Magic sometimes, because you don't want to draw these and not your legendary creatures and stuff like that. It adds some variance that maybe isn't always good. But for limited play, this could be a lot of fun, and definitely, again, for commander play, it would be awesome. All right, let's look at a few multicolored cards. First off, we have Oath of Teferi. This is a blue, white, and 3 legendary enchantment. When this enters the battlefield, exile another target permanent you control. Return it to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. You may activate the loyalty abilities of planeswalkers you control twice each turn, rather than only once. First off, looks like Teferi will be taking the oath. That's exciting. And as we're going to see in a moment, it appears he is getting his spark back too, which is really awesome. And the card itself is pretty good. I mean, 5's a little expensive again, probably from competitive Magic, but flickering stuff is always powerful. Like, you can always find something to do with this, right? And if you do have a Planeswalker, that ability is awesome too. So again, this could be really fun in like casual formats or Commander, no doubt. Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. White, blue, 3, legendary Planeswalker Teferi. 4, we're going to assume this one's going to be mythic. +1, draw a card at the beginning of the next end step. Untap 2 lands. -3, put target non-land permanent into its owner's library, third from the top. -8, you get an emblem whenever you draw a card, exile target permanent opponent controls. That +1, drawing a card, perfect for these colors, right? One of the best phrases in Magic, draw a card. And then beyond that, it lets you commit a little more on your turn and still untap some stuff to hold back your counter magic and such. That's kind of sweet. The -3 plays well into the time lore a little bit, and the -8, of course, is very powerful, and you're going to be hopefully drawing cards if you're in these colors, and basically creating a situation where hopefully that card draw leads you to winning the game, but doesn't win the game on its own. I do like that, actually, with Ultimates. Okay, we have a few Orzhov cards, too. We have Arvad the Cursed. This is a black, white, and 3 legendary creature vampire knight 3/3. Death Touch, lifelink. Other legendary creatures you control get +2/+2. Pretty good card, actually, for a number of things it appears this set is trying to do. Vampires definitely appear to be at least a light thing in black from what we can tell so far. Once we get to that video, you'll see that. Knights, of course, we know are definitely seeing some play between the two colors. And also, legendary is a big deal in this set, so a lot of people at the draft table might be vying for this one. Ariel, Knight of Windgrace. A black, a white, and 2 legendary creature human knight, vigilance 4/4. Pay a white and 2 and tap. Create a 2/2 white knight creature token with vigilance. Tap and play a black. Tap X untapped knights you control. Destroy target creature with power X or less. Again, plays right into that knight theme. Now, after seeing everything that went down with Ixalan in Standard, I'm not really confident that a tribal theme, especially one coming out of a brand new set, is going to be able to do a lot in Standard. This feels like it's going to be a lot of fun for casual play and a lot of fun in draft. This feels like an incredible archetype. Primeval's Glorious Rebirth. This is a black and white and 5 legendary sorcery. Return all legendary permanent cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. Very powerful effect, very expensive effect though. More of a commander card here, I think. Jodah, Archmage Eternal. This is the lone Jeskai card we'll wrap this video up with. Red, blue, white, 1. Legendary creature, human wizard, 4/3 flying. You may pay a mana of every color, rather than pay the mana cost, for spells that you cast. First, you're going to notice this is a wizard, and in blue and red, there are definitely wizard synergies. We'll be looking at those in the future. Beyond that, the idea of paying a mana of every color, I haven't seen a whole lot that supports that yet, but there's still a lot of cards we haven't seen. I'm sure there's some mechanics for limited that are going to be there to make that something that's achievable. We'll have to kind of wait and see how that works out. But at least for now, I mean, we got a broad idea of what this card might be able to do. 4/3 flying for 4 is not bad, although it is 3 different colors. It can be hard to manage sometimes in limited. Alright, with that being said, that's a quick look at the white cards. We're going to continue this train with the blue cards. And I'm just going to get these videos out as fast as I possibly can. I mean, there may be time between them, but hopefully over the course of the next number of hours, we'll be able to get all these out to you. So until next time, thanks for watching. Please remember to like, subscribe. Have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible by the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.